Hello everybody, what's going on? It's Voodoo 51292 here, and welcome to another episode of Voodoo's Verdict, my honest and thorough game review series. Today I'm going to be reviewing a game that is a little on the older side. I believe the game is about 4 months old at this point. If memory serves me right, it came out in, I want to say, October of 2014. But I just recently got a chance to play it here in the time between major releases this year that I'm waiting on. And played the game because I skipped it last year. And really have a lot of thoughts and a lot to say on this game. And so I figured, what the hell, why not just sit down and record my thoughts, and maybe some people who skipped the game last year and maybe looking for some games that have come down in price from last year might be interested in what I have to say about the game. So today we're going to be talking about Alien Isolation. This is a game that is developed by Creative Assembly and published by Sega. And Alien Isolation was a game that I think surprised a lot of people last year, because the Alien franchise has had a lot of games that have come out, licensed games in the past, most recently Aliens Colonial Marines, that basically have tanked. And people have really, to my knowledge, never liked an Alien game that's come out. They've always just not lived up to expectations and have usually followed the trend of most licensed games in that they're just not very good games. And so when Alien Isolation came out, I think a lot of people didn't have a lot of high expectations for the game. A lot of people like myself didn't even think about getting the game and skipped it. It's made by Creative Assembly, which is not... Sure, they've made other games and they're known, but they're not exactly one of the top-notch, mainstream, tried-and-true development teams. And so I think a lot of people skipped the game. But for the people who didn't and the people who played the game was praised and got an overwhelming amount of positive reviews, except for the two main, if you want to say mainstream review companies, which is IGN and GameSpot, who gave the game basically a 6. I think IGN gave it a 5.9 or something weird. So they basically both gave the game a 6 and had a lot of negative things to say about the game. But most people who actually played the game really enjoyed it. So what are my thoughts on Alien Isolation? So in this game, this is not canon to the Alien story or anything like that, but in this game you play as Amanda Ripley, who is supposedly the daughter of Ellen Ripley, who's played by Sigourney Weaver in the Alien franchise. She's basically the main character of the movies. And this takes place sometime after, I believe it's 15 years after the events of Alien 1, the first movie. And Ripley basically wants to find out what happened to her mother. And at the start of the game, you are informed that this ship in space called the Sevastopol has recently received the flight recorder from the Nostromo, the original ship in Alien. And so you are invited to come along with a team of 2 people to the Sevastopol to get the flight recorder and hopefully find out some information about your lost mother. So Amanda travels to this space station, Sevastopol, and quickly they find out that the station has basically gone to hell because some way, somehow, there is an alien on board the Sevastopol. And not only is there an alien aboard the Sevastopol, but there's also an AI system called Apollo that basically has gone haywire and is basically turned rogue in the station, and all the androids called the Working Joes that are controlled by Apollo are basically going on the fritz. They're starting to attack humans, and of course the station is thrown into chaos. The few survivors that remain on the station are all extremely paranoid. They're very aggressive because they're just in survival mode at this point. So they'll shoot people on sight to try to get their supplies, and so the station is in chaos, and basically you and your team wind up stranded on the Sevastopol. And so obviously the game is about trying to get off the ship, and during the course of the game, through different audio logs and different terminals that you can read, you find out a lot of the backstory. That's really how the backstory of the game is presented to you, is in audio logs that you find, and also terminals that you can access and read to learn about the story and the characters aboard the Sevastopol and what actually took place on that ship. So the story is actually very intriguing, And I had a lot of fun going around exploring and listening to the audio logs, and also, reading the terminals to sort of get some backstory and insight on what happened to this ship. The gameplay of Alien Isolation. It's best described as a first-person survival horror type of game. So, first of all, the game, the best way that I can describe the game, and the thing that I kept thinking the whole time I was playing it, is a mix between the game Dead Space and the game Outlast. Outlast being the also first-person survival horror game that came out, I think, in I think it came out last year too, 2014, early 2014. That became sort of a hit on PC and PS4, I think. And so the game is, I'm sorry if my dogs start barking, they're downstairs alone, and when they're downstairs alone unsupervised, they have a tendency to bark at everything, and a car alarm just went off outside, so hopefully they don't bark the entirety of this video. But anyway, as I was saying, so the game is definitely not combat focused, alright? You are, you have limited supplies, and the enemies that you will face in the game are difficult to kill, alright? You don't have a lot of life. It's definitely not a run and gun style game. The alien itself is actually unkillable. You cannot kill the alien. So the game is not about combat. The game, for the most part, is about sneaking around, trying to not make a lot of noise, and using different tools to distract your enemies, to get around your enemies, and if the time is right, I'm not trying to say you can't kill anything in this game. It's impossible. You can, other than the alien. It's just not the best option usually. Sometimes it is, but most of the time it's not. So if push comes to shove, you do have an arsenal of weapons that you eventually get that you can use to your advantage. So you have a few guns you can use. When it comes to the androids, you can use stun batons to short them out. You can use EMP mines, things like that, to your advantage if you do have to engage these things in combat. So, scavenging, like in most survival horror games, is a very big part of this game. You really should be going around the ship, exploring different rooms, picking up different items, and making sure that you are well stocked, because there is a crafting system in the game where you go around and find blueprints for certain items, and once you have the blueprint, then you are able to craft particular items. And obviously, in order to do that, you need some different materials from around that you can scavenge on your way. So, again, ammo is limited. There's not a whole ton of ammo. Items actually max out your inventory pretty quickly, and unlike a game like Dead Space, there's actually no way to increase your item inventory. There's no leveling system or experience system in the game per se, so there's no way to really increase your item inventory. But you definitely want to make sure that you scavenge and look for supplies and so forth. So, as far as the gameplay between the humans, droids, and alien, well, the human and droids are pretty much what they are. Again, most of them are killable. You want to avoid them if you can. And like I said, there's different EMP things you can use against droids, whereas humans, you can either sneak around them or use your weapons, use melee attacks, things of that nature. Now, the gameplay of the alien is very, very different. Alright, the alien, like I said, is unkillable. And the alien will insta-kill you. If it finds you and sees you, it will charge at you and instantly kill you. And for the first half of the game, there's absolutely nothing you can do about this. If he sees you, you're dead. For the second half of the game actually gives you a flamethrower that you can use to push back the alien. Now, the ammo is very, very limited in the flamethrower. There were a few points during the game where I really, really wish I had flamethrower fuel, and I didn't have any, so I had to sort of be a lot more careful. But you do get the flamethrower about halfway through, and then if the alien's charging you, you can blast it in the face with the flamethrower, and if you're quick enough to hit him, you can actually push him back and make him run away for a short amount of time, but he'll still come back relatively quickly, so it's really only a last-ditch effort to try to, you know, scare the alien off if he does detect you. So, really, the gameplay of the alien, there's certain points that he is going to spawn. There's certain scripted parts of the game where the alien's going to spawn when you do a particular thing. Other parts in the game, the majority of the game, the alien can just sort of show up whenever, alright? Now, you're not totally powerless in this whole struggle to identify where the alien is, or for that matter, where humans or androids are, because you do have a motion tracker, very similar to the ones they use in the Aliens movies, that you have with you from basically the beginning of the game that you can use to track the movements of the alien and also humans and droids aboard the ship. And obviously that's very useful, and it's a very vital survival skill, because you can tell if there's something around the corner, you can tell if the alien's in the walls or in the vents, stuff like that. So the motion tracker is very useful, but the alien can sort of spawn whenever he wants, and certainly there's times where he'll come out more than others. So if you make a lot of noise, the alien's going to come for you. So there's a sprint feature in the game. I pretty much never used it, because when you're sprinting, it's loud as hell, and you're probably going to summon the alien or anything else that's around you. If you engage in combat with other humans or droids or things like that, that's loud. If you start shooting guns, if you start getting in a melee fight, it makes a ton of noise. The alien knows where you are and will probably come. Now, if you're sneaking around, you're not making a lot of noise, you're not engaging in open combat, the alien will not be automatically drawn to your position, but he may drop in different places in the level. And the alien, number one, has pretty good AI, alright? The alien's AI is pretty well programmed. It's actually an artificial intelligence, meaning it actually will adapt, it actually will learn from different tactics. The alien usually doesn't make mistakes, and if they do, they don't make them more, or it doesn't make it more than once. Like I said, it actually learns and adapts to different patterns, and it's pretty damn good AI, and you have to be pretty good to avoid it. So either sneak around and just try to avoid it, but you also can craft things like noisemakers, and you can throw noisemakers down a hallway and get the alien to basically go there and be distracted for you to cross behind it in a hallway, or to move around it, do whatever you have to do. There's a mechanic very similar to Outlast where you can actually hide in lockers or hide in little storage containers if you're near them or under desks, and wait for the alien to actually leave or jump up into the vents for a little while, and maybe you can move on. But again, it's very difficult because, yes, you have a motion tracker, but here's the catch. When you use the motion tracker, it makes a beeping noise. And the beeping noise, if you're too close to the alien, you're trying to use the motion tracker to see where it is, it'll actually hear the beeping of your motion detector, and it can come and kill you that way. So you have to be very careful. It's a game of cat and mouse for sure. It requires you to use a lot of thinking, to not just rush situations, but to actually plan out different situations and see what you can do. And you always have to be careful, because maybe you're in a room with humans and you want to sneak by them. Well, you might think, okay, well, I can throw a noisemaker in the corner and distract the humans. And that's true, but when you throw a noisemaker, you can also wind up attracting the alien, which you didn't want to do. You just wanted to get around the humans, but the noisemaker attracted the alien. But this can also work to your advantage, because if there's a room full of a bunch of humans, and you throw a noisemaker, you distract the humans, the alien might show up, but the alien shows up and sees all the NPC humans, and the alien will actually kill the humans. And then if you can hide, the alien goes away, boom, you just cleared out the room of all the humans. You didn't have to do a thing. You just summoned the alien, he took care of it, and you could progress through the room. So it's actually really cool. There's a vent system that you can use in the game to sort of hide from the alien, and also to sneak around and get to different areas. There's a lot of optional areas, optional rooms. There's actually this sort of plasma torch that there's 3 different upgrades for it, and it allows you to open certain types of doors as you acquire this upgrade. There's earlier levels in the game. It's actually an open world game, so there's earlier levels in the game that have these doors that are sealed, and you can only get through them with the torch, and you may not have it at the time, but later in the game, if you make a mental note of it, make a mental note of where those doors are and paths later in the game, when you get the torch upgrades, you can actually go back into those previous areas and open up those doors, and you'll probably find some collectibles, terminals, things like that to get even blueprints for to reward you for the backtracking. There's also areas that are at some points are filled with toxic gas and you can't get in there. Later in the game, you might find a gas mask, and then I can go back to earlier levels and go through that toxic gas now and get whatever collectibles and such were over there. More tactical things about the game. There is, at different points, rewire systems where you can actually hack in and divert power to different systems. So maybe you can go in and say, oh, I want to divert power to an alarm system on the other side of the level, and then when you activate that, you can draw the alien to the total opposite side of the level, allowing you to progress on, on the other side and do what you have to do, knowing the alien's distracted. Or maybe there is a room with gas, but if you go into the rewire system, you can activate an air purification system, and you can remove that gas, giving you access to the room. So there's a lot of really cool things, interesting, neat things in Alien Isolation to use to your advantage, and it's a lot of thinking. It's not a mindless run and gun type of game. You actually have to think and use your brain. So, positive things about Alien Isolation. By far, number one, more than anything else, the atmosphere. The atmosphere is fucking amazing in this game. Alright? Obviously, the people who made this game did their homework on Alien. I actually just saw Alien, the first movie, for the very first time last week before I played this game. And I can tell you that the atmosphere on this ship is very similar to what it's like on the Nostromo in the movie, and what you might think if the Nostromo was further explored. Even though you're not on the Nostromo, it has that similar style. It nails the retro futuristic look beautifully. You know, the futuristic style that existed back in the 70s and 80s, this game nails it, alright? The lighting and sound, I can't say enough. The lighting and sound of this game are both fucking amazing, alright? The lighting detail is unbelievable, from the shadow casting to the fire physics are gorgeous, probably some of the best I've ever seen. The atmospheric lighting in the game, like I said, the way shadows are cast, the way certain things are illuminated, is fantastic and adds so much atmosphere to the game. The music is fantastic, and the sound of the alien, when the alien falls out of the vents and starts slithering and you can hear him, he starts hissing, and or if it's the droids. The game is creepy. I wouldn't say it's as scary as, say, Dead Space 1, but it's definitely creepy. And there's a lot of atmosphere. For instance, if you're in an area and the alien drops down in a different area by a droid, you can hear the droid in the distance talking about the alien. Like, he'll say, oh, what are you? Unidentified species, logging report to Apollo. And you're like, oh shit, the alien is over there in the other room and the freaking droid is noticing it, and you get tense as hell. Those moments when the alien is there, it is so freaking tense. This game is tense as hell. When you are trying to escape from the alien, when the alien's on your ass, or you have a close call with the alien, or he's getting real close to you, you throw a noisemaker and pray that he goes away. The game is friggin' tense when it gets to those points, alright? And whether it's fighting humans and shooting one in the head with a shotgun and seeing the blood spatter all over the wall, or if you're beating the crap out of an android and watching this hydraulic fluid spew out of him and go all over the walls and the desk and the surroundings, it's fucking awesome. The graphics are amazing, albeit only 30 frames per second, but I really don't care. It has no hindrance on this game's performance. Everything in the game looks fantastic. The only complaint I have about the graphics, and I'm kind of confused by this, but in cutscenes, the frame rate is balls. And I don't know why this is, but during cutscenes, the frame rate can be cut in half to about 15 frames a second, and it looks like shit. Why that is, I don't know. It bothered me, but for the actual gameplay, the graphics are outstanding and barely ever drops below 30 frames per second, if at all. Alright, so atmosphere, graphics, all that stuff, sound, design, it's all fucking great. The gameplay is very fun. Like I said, if you like survival horror, first-person survival horror, you like having areas, the level design is also sort of like BioShock, in a way. If you like that level design of these different sprawling areas that you can go around and explore. There's optional rooms, there's audio logs to learn more about the story, there's different collectibles you can pick up if you like going around searching containers to try to get items. All that kind of stuff, you're going to love it. All the different tools you have at your disposal to actually distract humans or droids or the alien, different methods you have of getting around different places, the ability you have to actually think and plan out your next move is all great, and I loved it. I loved the tenseness. I loved planning everything, and it was just a ton of fun. And it's funny because for me, stealth games are not my favorite types of games. So when I heard that this game was mainly stealth-based, I was kind of up in the air. I didn't know, but I got interested in the game and I picked it up, and I love it. And like I said, stealth is not really my forte, but this game is fair about it. I don't like stealth games that are completely unfair. This game, for the most part, is fair. Are there some cheap deaths? Absolutely. There's sometimes that you're walking and the alien, for whatever reason, will just fall directly in front of you and you're totally boned. There's nothing you can do about it. Instant death. Yes, there's times like that. Yes, it's frustrating. But for the most part, this game is very fair about it. And if you actually think about what you're doing and use the tools at your disposal, you can do the stealth without really having any problems. Unlike, say, the end of a game like Dishonored, where the stealth was so absolutely grueling and unforgiving it made the game not fun. This is not that way, alright? For the most part. So, the characters I thought were done well. Now, is there any sort of complex, deep insight into the characters and you know, are the side characters you're going to remember 4 years from now? No. But for the purposes of the game and for the plot of the game, the characters are good enough, alright? And they make you care about them enough. You don't want characters to die, you don't want bad things to happen to them, and so you actually have an emotional investment in these characters, which is more than a lot of games where they literally have, say a game like Dying Light, where literally the characters are freaking cardboard cutouts and you don't give a damn if they fall off the top of a skyscraper or get presented with 4 cheesecakes to eat. You don't care. In this game, you at least care, alright? And that's all I ask for in a game, is that you at least give a damn about the people in the game. I don't need every game to have amazing, complex, you know, character development, and, you know, I don't need, you know, William Faulkner to write the stories of all these games, but at least I want to care. And this game does that. So, good things. Yeah, a lot of good things about Alien Isolation. Tons of good things. Negatives. There are a few, alright? Now, this is something, I don't know if it's a negative or a positive, it's just something to state. The save system in Alien Isolation, alright? The save system, there are no auto-saves, alright? I'm actually going to cut the video to talk about this because I am running short on time and I want to make sure I don't get cut off, so I'm going to do a jump cut here and finish off talking about the review, alright? So I'll be right back. Alright, we're back. So we're talking about the save system of Alien Isolation. There's no auto-saving in Alien Isolation. It's all manual saves. Again, very similar to a game like Dead Space, where you need to find save points in order to save your game. They are basically like telephones on the wall, and there is some help, a bone the game throws you, because when you're near a save point, the save point actually beeps. It makes a very distinctive beeping sound to let you know, hey, I'm in close proximity of a save station. Now, the negatives about that is that sometimes I found in the game that the save points were not frequent enough. That sometimes there were save points that were just too damn far apart. And so when you die, you wind up having to redo quite a bit of gameplay because there was no save point. And in a game that is somewhat trial and error, because there'll be a lot of times in stages where there will be trial and error, where a certain room will be laid out a certain way with enemies, and maybe you try something one time that you thought would work, it doesn't work, you get killed, you have to redo it. There is trial and error in this game, and when there's long stretches of the game that you have to do certain sequences and there's no save point, it can be very, very frustrating. When you do 5-10 minutes of gameplay, you're in a new area, you haven't found a save point yet, you try something, it doesn't work, you wind up getting killed, and then you have to go back and redo all that gameplay over again. It can get very frustrating. I didn't find that too terribly much in the game, and really when I think about it, I don't have a problem with the manual saving, because it adds to the atmosphere, it adds to the tenseness of the game, because if you're trying to run from the alien or do whatever you're trying to do, it adds a lot more tenseness to the game to know I have to be really careful here, because if the game auto-saved every 2 minutes, then you wouldn't give a damn, right? You just run around free willy and get killed, and it doesn't matter because you lose a minute or so, a minute or two of gameplay. It's not a big deal. But to actually die in this game has consequences if you haven't saved in a while. So it definitely adds to the game quality to, I think, to have these manual saves. The thing with me is I would have just liked at some stretches of the game that they had save points more frequently. Like I said, for the majority of the game, I thought that the save points were well spaced out in the level and were fair, but there were times that I was just like, wow, I have just done way too much gameplay without a logical save point here, and I'm going to be real pissed if I died. And sometimes I didn't, found the next save point, sometimes I did die and got pretty frustrated. Another negative I have with the game is that toward the end of the game, they decide to put facehugger enemies in the game. Now, if you've seen Alien or familiar with Alien, you know what the facehuggers are. There's those things that jump and literally grab your face and implant you with the alien parasite that becomes the alien. They're in this game later in the game. They're very tiny, and they're instant kill enemies. And every single facehugger that I've encountered in this game killed me at least once, because they're nearly impossible to see. You basically have no idea when the hell they're coming, and because of that, like I said, 9 times out of 10 they will kill you. And this can be really, really annoying if you're in a section where there's not a save point for a while, because you've just done a whole lot. Oh, let's go into the next room. All of a sudden, facehugger, insta-kill, cheap-ass death, redo 7 minutes of gameplay because there's no save point. It's bullshit. And the most frustrated I ever got with this game was going through areas that had these kind of things. There was literally one area, I kid you not, where you were going through a tunnel, 2 facehuggers came out, you killed them, then when you opened the door to go to the next area, the game spawned a facehugger behind you that insta-killed you. There was absolutely no chance in hell of knowing it was there the first time. It killed me about 5 times because for the life of me I couldn't figure out that the damn thing was behind me. I kept thinking it was in front of me in the next room because it only spawned when I opened the door, but I never saw it coming. So it took me about 4 or 5 deaths to realize, holy shit, the game is spawning it behind me because they're being a bunch of cheap bastards. Then I turned around, saw the thing, killed it, and was able to move on. Luckily, this is very sparse in the game, and it's only in the last, say, 1/4 of the game maybe, if that much. There's not that many of them, but man, are they fucking annoying when they're there. And I really don't understand why they're in the game, because obviously they're a big part of Alien, but they've got nothing to do with this particular game. And they add nothing to the game. They're literally just there to troll you and piss you off and kill you. Because I guarantee you when you play this game, you will get killed by facehuggers and it will piss you the fuck off. Because you have no chance. So it's trial and error. You go, oh, facehugger killed me. Next time I go in the room, I have to look out for these things and know that they're going to be there and they're going to fucking kill me. Alright? That's a negative I have about the game. The last negative I have about the game is the ending. And you know, say what you want, but I do not like endings of games that sequel bait. And this does it. It has a pretty epic ending, but then you really get no closure because the game sequel baits. It's a cliffhanger sort of ending. You don't really know what happens. You're sort of left to just wonder. Now, is it the worst one I've ever seen? Absolutely not. It's definitely not the worst one I've ever seen, because by the end of the game, most of the story of the characters you've been with and of the Sevastopol station and all that, most of that is resolved. So it's not like it just ends the game without resolving any of the conflicts that were going on or any of the characters that were there. It's not like that. But it does leave the game sort of open for a sequel, alright? Which is fine, because I definitely want a sequel to Alien Isolation. But you know, it was a little annoying, okay? Like I said, it's not the worst one I've ever seen. It didn't, like, piss me off and throw me into a rage like, holy shit, how dare they. But it is a little bit annoying. It kind of ended, it has, not that it's the same ending, but it's the same type of ending as, like, Dead Space 2 had, where it was, it basically was just sequel baiting. And, but I didn't really mind it in Dead Space 2. I kind of mind it here, but not to this huge extent, alright? the last thing I want to talk about is the length of the game. And we just had a game that came out that I did a review on and panned the game, Evolve, because it has no content. There's just a game that got released that I did not pick up. It got released today, actually. The Order 1886, a PS4 exclusive. I was going to pick up the game and I didn't, because before the game came out, it leaked that the game is basically 6 or 7 hours long in length for $60. Alright, and I said, fuck that, I'm not spending $60 again. I just wasted it on Evolve. I'm not going to spend another $60 on a game that is short as hell. And come to find out, when the game was released today, it's being panned. Critics are panning the hell out of it, and users, which is more what I care about, are panning the hell out of the game and saying the game has no content, it's short as shit. This game is 15 to 20 hours of gameplay. I'm going to repeat that. It's 15 to 20 hours of gameplay. That is value in this day and age. When you get a game for $60, a single-player game, single-player campaign, you want 15 to 20 hours out of a game. Most people would be fine if games were 10 to 12 hours. But this game is 15 to 20 of quality, fun gameplay. Everybody who panned the game basically bitched and said the game dragged on too long. However, had the game been cut short, everybody would have said, well, it was great, but it wasn't long enough, there should have been more. Personally, I did not feel that this game dragged on. It had a segment in the middle of the game where the alien is not involved, and people bitched about it and said it was slow. I loved it. Because if 15 to 20 hours were that intense, with the alien always on your ass, it would get frustrating and boring at some point. But the fact that the game in the middle of the game gives you a nice couple-hour break from the alien to allow you to explore, it's a great opportunity in the game to actually go back to older levels and re-explore using your torch upgrades and such, because you don't have to worry about the alien being on your ass all the time. I had no problem with it. I thought the game was well-paced throughout. I thought that the actions and the lulls came at the right times. I thought the game was well-paced, and I thought that it was a great length. I thought I beat the game, and I said, wow, I really got my money's worth out of this game. It's got a ton of content, and, you know, so be it. I really enjoyed it. Another thing that people said, IGN and GameSpot, when they panned the game, they said that they never had any items. Well, that's because they're fucking stupid, because I spent the majority of the game actually maxed out on items. The only things I really ran low on was ammo, which is understandable. But as far as crafting items, I had too many. Every time I would go, item max, item max, I actually had to craft items to get materials out of my inventory to pick up new ones. You know, I was doing the whole thing where I was full on med kits, and I might have this little bit of life lost, and I'd find another med kit. I'd have to use a whole med kit just to fill up that little bar to pick up a new one and refill my inventory. I had too many items, and actually when I went back to previous levels, I actually found items that were there that I could pick up, because at the time, the first time I went through, I had too many. I couldn't use them, but going back a second time, I could pick them up. So I don't know what they're talking about or how they played this game or what they did, but I had too many items, if anything. Alright? Way too many. So, you know, I can't help those people, but they didn't play it correctly. Alright? The game is meant to take your time. The game is meant for you to think, and I guess maybe IGN and GameSpot aren't used to playing games that you actually have to use your brain for, and they don't want to. They just want to play Call of Duty all day and play games that you don't have to actually engage your mind. You can just shoot and spray everything, and they played this game and said, oh, fuck that. We can't just dual-wield machine guns and fucking take out everything and slaughter aliens. No, you can't. That's not the type of fucking game it is. Don't review a survival horror game and then bitch because it's survival horror. Duh. Supplies are going to be limited, even though, like I said, I spent most of the game with my items maxed. And they said, and I read some of the reviews that those two companies did, and they said, well, we spent way too many goddamn, well, they didn't say goddamn, obviously, but we spent too much time hiding in lockers and playing cat and mouse with the alien. Yes, you dumbass, it's survival horror. You have to avoid the fucking alien. This is not Colonial Marines where you can run around and just shoot everything. This is a game that's about stealth, it's about taking your time, it's about being patient, using your brain, you know, engaging the old noodle, and using the tools that the game gives you. And if you take your time and play by the game's rules, which are consistent, by the way, the game's rules are consistent the whole time. The game doesn't just change its mind and change its rules whenever it wants to. The game's tools and rules are consistent, and if you follow them, the game is fair, and the game is fun, and it's enjoyable to play, and you will enjoy this game. And so I'm so glad I picked this game up. I'm sorry I skipped it. If you are looking for a game that's come down in price to play, or you're between releases or whatever at any point this year, or it's a slow point in the year and you want to play a game, I know a lot of people, like I said, skip this game. Pick it up. This game is worth it. This game is great. And considering we live in a world now where a whole ton of AAA games are really shit. We've had 3 major ones this year already, right? With Dying Light, with Evolve, and with The Order 1886 coming out today. The first 2 I played personally, and they were both huge disappointments. And apparently The Order 1886 is a big disappointment too, because it's 6 to 7 hours long, and half of that time is cutscenes, and the gameplay is mostly QuickTime events. It's a gem to find a game now, AAA game, that is this good, has this much content, and is so much worth your time. Alien Isolation, I give a 9 out of 10. I think it's that good of a game. Yes, it has problems. Yes, it has frustrating points. Yes, sometimes it's annoying to not have save points. But overall, the game is spectacular. It's definitely worth the play. It's definitely worth it now that the prices come down. I think it's $40 now instead of $60. Absolutely worth it. Pick it up if you like that style of game. You will not be disappointed. I loved Alien Isolation. Thought it was a ton of fun, and I'm really excited that, we'd have to assume based on the ending that they will be making a sequel, and when they make it, I will definitely not be skipping it that time. I'll be picking it up because it's definitely worth it. Alien Isolation is a great game. Don't listen to IGN and GameSpot, because just keep this in mind. IGN gave Evolve, that fucking multiplayer game that they shelled out for $60 that has 0 content, that I gave, I think, a 5. They gave it a 9. IGN gave Evolve a 9 and gave this game a 5.9. They're the biggest fucking idiots I've ever seen reviewing anything, and they should never be trusted with anything. Just the fact that they gave Evolve a 9 should be enough for you to never listen to a goddamn thing IGN says, right? And GameSpot is getting just as bad. So don't listen to that shit. This game's good, and Creative Assembly should be really proud of themselves for this game and for finally making a game that Alien fans really enjoy. Like I said, this is the only Alien game I've ever played, so I didn't have to suffer through all the games that were crap. But from listening to other people who have played Alien games, they say they all sucked, and this is finally a game that people who like Alien can be fans of. Even if you are not a huge fan of the movies, the game is still fucking great. You don't have to know, you don't have to be entrenched in Alien lore to enjoy this game. Like I said, I saw the first movie once, like a few days before playing this game, and I loved the hell out of it. You don't even have to see the movies to play it. It's not like you won't get the game if you've never seen Alien. The game makes sense whether or not you've seen it or not. So, great game, 9 out of 10. This review was long as shit, but I was so happy and so jacked up and so refreshed to actually be reviewing a game positively and to actually be reviewing a good game that I got carried away and talked because I just don't get to do it enough. Most of the time I'm sitting here talking about how shit a game is, but this time I didn't have to do that. So, alright, thanks for listening to this really long review. Alien Isolation is a 9 out of 10. Thank you very much for watching Voodoo's Verdict, and I will see you again in the future for more honest and thorough game reviews. Thank you, and bye for now.